what we're doing here is we're trying to spot some fish. We're going to do a little bit of live baiting with the help of the Navionics background map here with my Raymarine electronics. You can see we've got kind of a large, slowly tapering flat, but there's a major protrusion that comes out here. You can see I've got one waypoint on there. I have picked up some pretty good fish on it the last couple days, but what we're going to do is just check this out, see what we see for bait, see what we see for fish, and I'm just going to follow the contours on this. And you can see I can zoom this out or zoom it in. And right now what I'm going to zoom in is for more detail right now, and I can really fine tune these contour lines. And this is what I'm looking for. I'm just coming up out of 40 foot of water. A lot of these fish have been staging in that 40 to maybe 50, even 60 foot at times when they're lethargic. And they're sliding up on the edges of this stuff to feed. So what we're going to do is just kind of follow this around, zigzag in and out, see where we're seeing bait, see where we're seeing fish. We're seeing fish here. Another nice thing I like, particularly out here in Oahe, is we do have a lot of submerged cottonwood trees. I've got their new Dragonfly downscan unit running right beside it, and comparing notes with what you're seeing here to this is absolutely phenomenal. These are fish, marking as fish here. If you run across trees, the detail is just, it blows me away. You can see where the trees are tilted, you can see the individual branches, you can see the fish within the branches. That's a pattern that develops late summer out here too, as these fish will get in the treetops and you know darn sure what they are. With traditional sonar, it'll show you a lot of information, but not quite as detailed as this. So running them in combination, I can really fine tune what's going on, not only giving me a lot of information, but personally giving me a lot of confidence as to what's going on. For example, yesterday, I was marking just massive clouds of stuff in here, and I just wasn't 100% sure if it was brush or what it was. I look over at the Dragonfly in the downscan, and what it was massive schools of shad, and some of them 20 foot deep by hundreds of yards long. And it really tuned me into that. Obviously with the bait there, started fishing there, and it gotten into fish right away. Without that, I might have been a little confused. I might have skipped that spot. What we're seeing here is kind of what we're expecting. You can see as I'm sliding back and forth up on this, you know, we're coming up to 30 foot, by God, there's some fish. So that's telling me there's a few of them up on this edge wanting to feed. I'm just going to seesaw back and forth on this, get a good feel for it. Then we'll turn around and drop some lines. Then I've got a game plan. I'm not out there basically fishing blind, just kind of hoping to bump into something. We've already got a set agenda, some specific spots I want to check out. And with this, I don't need to drop a great deal of waypoints because the background mapping is just so accurate that I can turn around and follow it. In particular, what I'm doing is I've got the 127 here, I've got the 125, which is the same multi-function screen up front. I do the same exact thing, I have the same exact viewpoint as I'm running my bow mount off the front of the boat. In conjunction with that, you'll see shortly that I run a A67 off the bow mount. So in effect, I've got a picture of the back of the boat where this transducer is shooting through and off the front of the boat, right off of the trolling motor there. And that can be real key with sharp depth changes. Another thing that a lot of people overlook, you'll see these blue specks here. Literally what that is a change in water temperature. There's a little bit of bands of cooler water there, and quite often you see those fish associated with it. It's not a classic thermocline per se, because we do have some flow through this reservoir, but it is colder water, and I've seen that time after time. I learned that probably 10 years ago in areas of Raymarine units that clued me into it on these temperature changes, and that's the depths that will hold these fish, particularly late summer. Okay, you kind of cut out on me.
Railroad crossway used to go all the way across there.
Oh, okay. There used to be a little dam in there, something too, there in that area.
Yeah, way over on the end. From there south, we went in 35 feet.
Okay. What were you guys pulling for plugs?
White body, Wonder Breads, bombers.
Okay. Any?
Seemed like white was better.
Okay, good. Piece of structure here. Just going to get started. Method that was developed right here out here on Hawaii is a slow death method. A lot of folks are becoming fairly familiar with it. No longer a secret that it once was. Tournament fishermen kind of kept her kind of tight. What I've done is I've developed a particular leader system that we run for JB Lures, where we're running a 4mm, then an 8mm bead down to a small propeller. And it adds just a little bit more attraction, a touch of flash. This worm will spin somewhat erratically in the water, and it just adds to it. And on most days, I think that does help. And this is something where we just pinch a crawler in half. I slide him up most of the way, leave a little tag end, pull him out so he's riding basically horizontal on the hook like so. Drop it in the water, let it swirl and do its thing. At least as of yesterday, that was probably a little bit more prevalent on the number of bites. This one I use for a handheld rod. I'll get it back over on the right side where I do want it. Okay. On a dead rod, what I'm going to run is a longer rod here. Got a little more flexibility. It's nice. Fish can load up, not feel you so much. I do run this off a fixed bouncer, a little more trouble-free as opposed to the sliding bouncer that I run on my handheld rod. A little bit longer leader, about a 6-foot leader. Coming down to the same Mustad slow death hook, but with this we're running a small bead and a small, the 0.8 size Max Lure Smile Blade on there. And I actually run a leech on there, which sounds kind of goofy, but it seems to work. We're getting the same twirling motion, and to accentuate that, what I do is I hook the leech as you typically would, if we can get that, through the sucker. I don't stop right there. I turn around, back that hook so it's just about out again. I run that right through the meat of that leech, and I run it through a ways. So in effect, I've got that double hooked. And what that'll do is that'll really make that leech spin as it goes through the water. And that with a combination of that off-centered smile blade can really do the trick. It looks goofy as heck, but it is effective. Getting a good feel for how it lays. Had one of my sponsors call one of the fellows from the Crank Caddy Company, and they're right here on the shores of Lake Hawaii themselves. He was up helping me pre-fish yesterday and sharing some of the information that he had. And in a reservoir of this size, it's just massive. I mean, gosh, you couldn't cover a 10-mile stretch and thoroughly cover it yourself in days. So it does help to kind of network with some folks. He shared some interesting things, a few methods that I had yet to try, pulling some reef runners, getting them down on lead core in some of the deeper depths. Nothing huge, but we've been experiencing an extremely tough bite out here. We did have some fronts go through early this morning. So just kind of gauging how these fish were going to behave. This fish is deeper too. And that explains the pecking. It's not our target species, little catfish. Grunting up the storm. And we'll get back in the water here and try to get after the right flavor of fish. But this body of water on Lake Hawaii, we got about every doggone thing that you could ever think of in here. Obviously, a lot of catfish, fairly common to catch them. Silver bass, lots of silver bass, good population of drum. The smallmouth bass are something that's totally overlooked out here. And believe it or not, for you smallmouth aficionados, they're almost a pest for us. They really are, because we're after these walleyes, and I mean, you can get into them and they will just literally beat the snot out of you. It's something that's underfished, underutilized. And we catch the heck out of them on accident. God forbid somebody come out here and knew what they were doing with them. So nobody really touches them. Occasionally you'll see somebody fish them in some of the more southern reservoirs like Sharp or Francis Case, but up here in Oahe, they're literally untouched other than by accident. So, you know, on any given day, you know, I've done it myself. Walleye fishing's tough. A lot of times you go up shallow, start throwing crankbaits into wind-blown points right up on the rocks, and get those smallies and salvage a day, and they're fun to catch. There's no doubt about it. We've also got Chinook salmon in here. They're a stock population, but that's an important fishery, you know, pretty popular. A lot of folks are into that. You know, just about anything you want's in the doggone thing. So, you know, a guy can come out here, may not always be your target fish, but you're going to catch fish over the course of the day. You know, you're going to have some fun. This might be a slot-sized tournament fish. We're preparing for a tournament here. If it's a walleye, he's showing some proper fight to it. Yeah. Here's another catfish. Nope, doggone catfish fluid. Sort of through these guys. Try to get the right ones. That one's just playing here. It's not so much humidity there. I just don't feel confident about him yet. These starfish will follow these baits. And there, just let him load up a little bit. Kept tension on him. Doesn't feel like anything huge, but hopefully we can break our walleye or our catfish spell. No, this is a great little slot fish for us for the tournament. The fishing has been pretty doggone tough, and then we threw a front in here to compound things a little bit. As tough as conditions are, I would have to say tomorrow, you know, he's probably going to go in the well. We've got 3 guys, so we can literally have 8 fish apiece out here in Hawaii. Something interesting. We've got so many small fish. We went from a 4 fish limit to an 8 fish limit to try to get rid of the little guys. So we can have 24 fish in the well. So we can put him in. We happen to get, you know, some bigger ones. This guy's probably 17. I don't think he'll make 18, probably 17. But if we got a bunch of 18s, we can certainly push him off to the side, bring the better ones into way. But it's showing us it's just what we predicted. These fish are up on the edge of this flat just before it breaks into the deep water. It's good to see them shallow, which is a good sign, which tells me they're up feeding here. Did make one slight change too. We're getting all the catfish, put one minnow down just to see that would make a difference. It certainly did. We'll get him back, and then we'll get it back in the water and get after it. Okay. What I'm going to show you folks here is something somewhat unique. It's a system that I adapted from something that is an old farmer trick done years ago with larger hooks, where they would actually thread a worm onto a two hook harness. And at the time, I don't even realize they knew what they were doing. It twists the worm in a real similar fashion to like a slow death type corkscrew thing. And I think their theory was they just wanted 2 hooks in that doggone worm. And the way it was told to me, they said, well, which end of the worm do you know they're going to bite? I got to thinking about that over time as we really got into fine-tuning this slow death stuff, and I thought, why not combine the 2? So what I have done is taking a small slow death hook, putting it on the end of a harness, a regular bait holder type hook on the front of the harness is sort of a pinning point, and I thread this worm on, and I do that in a somewhat unique fashion as well. I'll try to show you how I do this. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you get it down, it's not too tough. What I found helps me is I lay the worm right on my leg. And where I start is I run this threader in right about at the collar. So I've got a little bit of a tag in, and I'll show you what the advantage of that is in a moment. What you've got him pinned down on this tubing. Just kind of hold this in my legs like a vise. And I literally thread this worm up on the line. It comes about right to where this anchor hook is. I simply pin him in place, and as it comes out, you'll see I've got that fat end of that crawler. He's completely free of the hook. And what that'll do is the whole crawler will spin in a snake-like fashion, but then that little piece on the end, that'll sit there and corkscrew. And what I found with this too is when you're dealing with a lot of little fish, which we are in Oahe right now, we've got just oodles of 10 to 13 inch fish, At times, I think this is a little bit bigger presentation. It may deter some of them smaller guys, so you're not monkeying with them so much. It also works good as a dead rod because you don't have to babysit it quite so much. To finish the package out, I've run just a 6mm size bead and a very small, the 0.8 size smile blade there again to give it some added traction. And I found at times, especially in a tough bite, this will pull fish when just about nothing else will, and typically a little bit better fish. So it's good as a dead rod. Let it sit there. You know, if it gets a few bites a day, they're generally good bites for you. You don't have to babysit it, constantly rebait it. We've had some smaller fish here, so we're going to go to something like this, see if we can't make this pan out. And we're slowly getting up to one of the better areas that has been better, so hopefully we can find some better fish and put it to work and let you folks see just exactly how it does work. Another key with these, with a bottom bouncer system is too, I do see people, they let out way too much line. You need just enough to know that you're making contact with bottom. You don't want the thing dragging. So I've done that there. Real simple. The ram mount rod holders are real easy to use. Toss it in. You get a bite. The nice thing with these two is I generally just let them hang themselves. Let them load that rod up. These ram holders, all you got to do is use just one motion. You just lift up. There it is. You got tension on it. You get a hold of your reel. Never gets any slack line. And, you know, it's about a 90% hookup rate when they do actually get that rod tip bent over. To be honest with you, at times I think the dead rod is better than the handheld rod for the simple reason is the human can't screw it up. Because you get nervous and oh, is he there? And you're dropping line, and you're pulling back, and you're monkeying around with them. You know, you just leave the thing there, let them load that rod tip up. Eventually there's enough tension there with premium hooks. They got a little weight there, you know, they're hung. You see the rod pound, you know, they're there. Just simply lift them up and reel them in. Running around there just a little here. But we pulled up. Like I told Tom, I wanted to check this real quick for the tournament. Literally just got the fourth line down as I was watching this get bit. Took the time. Just got this rod back in the water with the threaded worm. It's tough to tell, but we've got my ship position right here. It's literally right on one of my icons from yesterday. There's another one coming up, another one coming up, another one coming up. And what this is, it's a tapering out of a long, steep hill before this reservoir was made. And it's surrounded by a creek arm on one side and by the river channel on another side. So these fish have access to deep water for comfort. They can slide up here and feed. They can fall back on those edges and be as sluggish as they want at times. But when they're on top of here, they're generally fairly conducive to getting caught. And, you know, literally we pulled up, just got our line set and popped one. So it worked out just as exactly as we had planned here. We'll finish drifting this out to the end. One thing we use of the drift socks, you can control your speed to exactly the way you want it, is the fact that we've got our line spread. You know, we're fishing in this 203 Warrior, which is a little over 20 foot, and we've got, you know, the rod sticking out a little bit out front, a little bit out the back. You know, heck, we're probably covering 24 foot swath as we go through this. And I've got another bite here, Tom, so we'll get back here. And this is part of the key, is being able to cover a swath of water. Otherwise, you know, heck, you might be covering a 10-foot wide swath if you were just, say, back trolling or just using your bow mount to travel through this. We just come through the front. These fish aren't exactly 100% ready to commit, but there I just teased him. But we got him. Got a huge fish, but once again, as tough as this fishing has been, it was just phenomenal until about a week ago. I've got another fish on up front as well. That looks to be a better fish. I do want to get this unhooked. 16-inch fish probably. I'm going to go up front and see if I can still get him. There he's up. Oh, it's a huge drum. I guess the guess was totally on. My goodness. Normally they'll have bigger runs than that. Fun to catch, but a little disappointing there, guy. Well, there's a big walleye out here somewhere, but that ain't him. Fun to catch nonetheless. Definitely got some shoulders on him, and we're talking about some of the different species. Obviously, drummer one of them. We'll let him go. With that, I think what we're going to do is call her a day. We've had a fair day here. We certainly can't complain, and clean stuff up, gear up, and give her a heck tomorrow. And we're getting to the point where it's almost 3 o'clock. So realistically, you know, yeah, you can find some fish, but these are more within tournament hours fish. You know, you can feel a little more solid about it. If you find fish at dark, you know, gosh, those fish might not bite till dark. You go back there at midday, you may not get a bite even though the fish are there. So,
and weigh-ins are going to be where?
They're going to be right in the town of Itasca, which is without a doubt one of the better fishing towns period in America, one of the best fishing towns in South Dakota, which says quite a bit. And they've got lots of festivities going on. You know, gosh, they got Texas Hold'em tournaments, they've got bull riding, they've got big name entertainment coming in as far as bands. It's an actual festival. So there's just a ton of stuff going on. To be honest with you, we're just one of the sidelines as a tournament out here. Obviously fishing is a big draw for the area, but these folks know how to have fun. They work hard out here, they play hard out here, and you know, eventually we're going to see some of that. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So I'm looking forward to that once this tournament concludes.